everyone, this is Gina. Today we're going to learn how to make this tiny wreath earring. So it turns out really cute. In a previous tutorial, we made this tiny wreath bracelet. I'm going to use the same color scheming for it to match. However, in the bracelet, as you can see, I used a 4 bead base and a 4 bead embellishment for my wreath. However, with 4 beads, it kind of gives the illusion that it's square instead of round. Even though it is basically a round unit, it comes out more square because of the 4 bead base. And I did that on purpose, knowing that it would have that look, simply because I wanted to keep the bracelet dainty, so I wanted each unit to be small. However, with the earring, we're going to use a 5 unit base and 5 beads on the inside of with our embellishment, simply to make it more round, so it looks more like a wreath. So what we're going to need for this particular tutorial, and I want you to keep in mind, I've already made one, so you're going to have to double these beads that I show you. So we're going to use 5 4mm round gold non-magnetic synthetic hematite beads in the gold tone, and then we're going to use some 4mm round crystals, and this is an opaque rainbow green, and then 1/8 seed bead and an ear wire. You're also going to need a few 15 seed beads, and you're going to need some of a contrast color or of your main color, more 15 seed beads. So what I'm using is a galvanized permanent finish Starlight, and I'm using antique bronze, and these are both Tohos, and they're both 15 And like I said, you'll double these beads here. So then I'm going to be using 6-pound Fireline, and I'm using it in the smoke color, just because these beads are dark and it'll blend nicer. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to put about an arm's length on my size 12 beading needle. So I've just basically measured it from my fingertips to my collarbone and shoulder, something like that, and that's how much thread I'm putting on for one earring, and that should be more than enough. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. Okay, to start this project, you're going to thread onto your needle and then push down on your thread 5 4mm round in the green crystal, or whatever color you've chosen for your base units. You're going to pick up 5 with 5 sets of 5 15 seed beads in between. Start with the crystal, end with 5 15-0s, just like this. Then we're going to pick this up and bring it to the end of our thread. You don't have to leave a long tail, but you need to leave enough to tie a knot with and to hold on to. Now I'm taking my working thread and I'm crossing it over my tail thread, and then I'm going to go over or go through the first bead on the tail side, just like this, and pull this into a circle. Now I'm going to sew around all of these beads, and it's going to come loose and do all kinds of weird things, so make sure you have a long enough tail to accommodate that. As we begin to get further around, we can tighten and it'll stop doing that. So just continue sewing through all the beads, and don't miss any of these little 15-0s because they can be squirrely. And we're going to go all the way around here. And I'm just, if it looks confusing because of the way I'm handling it, I'm just continuing to sew all the way around my beads. So just know that that's what I'm doing. And I'm just adjusting my tail as I do this because I want to make sure I have enough to tie a knot with. And then, before you get halfway around, you can still kind of pull some slack through. So I'm all the way around now. I've got my working thread and my tail thread right next to each other, and I'm going to cross the working thread over the tail thread and bring the tail thread through the circle that results in that crossing, and I'm going to bring it through twice, and then I'm going to pull a little surgeon's knot down onto my thread ridge between the beads. So make sure you go between the beads and you're not on top of them. Then I'm just going to make sure that it's not so tight or bunched up, that it lays just nice and neat like this. And then I'm just going to move my tail out of the way here. And I'm going to sew into this next bead just to get myself away from the tail for a moment here. So I'm going to go through these 15 O's. We're right where we tied our knot. So we're going to go through the 15 O's and the next 4mm round bead. Right there. And now I can cut this tail down some just because it tends to get in my way. So I'm going to cut that down. And I can go ahead and burn it in. Just make sure you don't fill the whole of your beads with the blob. So as you can see, I just rolled it down enough to where it lays right outside of my beads there. Now I'm going to pick up a 4mm round in gold, and I'm going to go from this 4mm round into this 4mm round right here. And I'm just going to pull this down, and then I'm going to push it towards the inside, and then I'm going to cinch the beads up by pulling on my thread so that the two green crystals are laying tight against the gold bead. And then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go from green crystal to green crystal, putting a gold crystal in between. Just like this. I'm going to push it towards the center, tighten my thread, and cinch the beads up. And I'm going to continue doing that until I have put all 5 of my gold beads between my 5 green beads. Just like this. And you can see that the 15 seed beads should go outside of the 4mm rounds as we do this. Push it in and tighten it up. And then one more time. Now it gets a little tight at the very last one, so you're going to have to push your beads out of the way because the 15 O's will kind of go into that bigger bead hole. And if you're like me, you're so tight and it can be kind of a pain. Just like that. Now I've got them all in there, and they're laying in there nice and neat and pretty. I'm coming out of this green bead. I'm going to go into this gold one right here. Then I'm going to pick up 2 15 seed beads, and I'm going to travel from gold bead to gold bead, putting 15 seed beads over the top of the green bead. Just like that. And I'm going to go all the way around doing that. If you just go kind of up towards the top of your inside beads, you can get in them fairly easily. We need 2 more sets of 2 15 O's. Okay, come on. Get in there, you little booger. All right, we got him. Is captured. Okay, now that's what that should look like. Just kind of arrange your beads, make sure your thread is tight, everything looks good, and that one's kind of weird. Stop it, you. All right, well, I'm not going to worry about it too much because I'm going to go around again. So I've just got them arranged as neatly as I can, and I've lost my thread. Let me put my thread back on my needle because I was messing around and kind of messed it up. So there we go. Now we are going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and we're going to go from gold bead to gold bead again. And just lay those on top of that green bead and pick up 3 more and go into the next bead. And you can see as I'm going into the bead, I'm kind of lifting it up so that I can get through a little easier. So I'm going to pick up 3 more and just continue traveling around. One more. And I'm just going to go through the gold bead, trying to avoid everything else on the other side of it. Just come through that gold bead. Now I've squished everything up, so I'm going to unsquish it. And we are now going to we're going to make a little bow here. So I am going to use some more of my bronze 15-0s. You can use the gold ones if you want. We're only going to use a couple of the gold ones the way I designed it, but you can use whatever you want. So I'm going to pick up 6 of my 15-0 seed beads onto my needle. I'm coming out of this gold bead. I'm going to go right back into it and exit the other side of it and just ignoring all the beads on the other side, just like this. And I'm going to pull this down. Pull it through, and then just bring it down to where the beads make a little loop. And let's get you just a little closer here, and let's do the other side. So let's pick up let's pick up 6. How about that? 2, 4, 6. 6 15-0 seed beads onto your needle. Go back into that gold bead again, and just the gold bead, trying to avoid everything else on either side of it, just like this, and pull this through. And then you can arrange these however you want them to look. Sometimes they will fold in half. You can put 7 if you want to make them more round. You can put 7 beads, and then they won't fold in half as much. There. And then, now that I'm coming out of this gold bead here, I'm going to go into these 15-0 seed beads right behind this gold bead. So I'm going to go into 2 15-0 seed beads right here. Then I am going to pick up an 8-0 seed bead. Now here you can put a wire guardian on top of this 8-0 seed bead so that you can ensure that your threads aren't going to fall through on the opening of the ear wire. But you have to know that it's going to give you more length, so your earring's going to drop lower, and sometimes wire guardians can make your earring twist. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that my ear wire is closed very tightly, and this one is. So then I'm going to go up through the loop of the ear wire, making sure that the curved part of the ear wire, the front of it, is towards the front of my piece here. And then I'm going to go back down into this 8-0 seed bead right here. And I'm just going to hold onto that 8-0 and pull my thread through until my ear wire comes up to the piece. And then I'm going to skip one of these 15-0s. We're going to get in really close because these are really tiny beads. So I've got 5 of them here. I came through 2. I'm skipping 1, and then I'm going to go into the next 2 15-0s. So skip that one. Go into the next 2 15-0s and the green bead behind it, just like this. And I'm going to pull this through. Straighten it up. make sure that everything is the way I want it. And now I have to sew all the way around my piece, come back so I can go through my ear wire one more time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew through the big beads instead of trying to sew through all these 15 O's. So I'm coming out of the green bead, I'm going to go into the next gold bead here. Now if your beads happen to have smaller holes than mine do, than the gold ones do, and the crystals that I'm using, it might be a little bit harder, but it should be able to be done. So it's easier than sewing through the 15 O's. However, if you can't get back through your beads in the middle, then sew around, go through the green ones, the 15 O's, the green ones, the 15 O's, you know. And then you can make your way all the way around. But for now, we're just going from gold bead to green bead, all the way around the entire piece. Avoid any of your 15 O beads on either side of them, and just go through the larger beads until we get all the way around. This will also give the piece more structure, and it'll make it stronger too. So now I'm coming up through this green bead here, this last one, right next to where my ear wire is. So now I'm going to also go up through the two 15 O's here and see if I can come up through this 8O also, just like this. And I'm going to pull all this through. Then I'm going to go through my ear wire. Gee, that was rather clumsy. And then I'm going to go back through the 8O. And now I have 2 passes of thread through my 8O. Then I have got to go back into these 2 beads, so I'm skipping the one in the middle of those 5 15 O's, going back into the 2 15 O's on the other side of the ear wire. Now, you can sew around the big beads one more time if you want. If you feel like 2 passes of thread isn't enough, you can sew around again and come up through that ear wire one more time if you want to. I, however, to keep this video short, am going to go ahead and tie off my thread. So I'm coming out of this green bead here. Make sure everything is nice and tight. Your clasping is tight. Everything looks the way you want it to look. To mess with my bow a little more because it's bugging me. I'll mess with it in a minute. Anyway, we're going to go underneath the thread bridge between the green bead and the 15O beads. So we're just going to bring our needle underneath. We're going to create a loop, making sure we keep it between those beads, and on that thread bridge, go through the loop and pull a little knot down between those beads. And then I'm going to go into this gold bead here, and down into the next green bead here, and then I'm going to do that again. I'm going to go underneath the 15 O's, position my thread between the 15O and the green bead here, make a loop, go through it, and pull a knot down on the thread bridge. And then I'm going to go through my next gold bead and my next green bead and cut my thread off. So I'll cut this down, leaving a tiny bit of a tail there, and then I'm just going to melt that in. And then I can mess with my piece because I mangled it. Jeez. And then I'm going to grab something round and put it into my little bows. And just kind of straighten them out. And like I said, you could pick up 7. It's going to make your bow a little bit bigger, but it'll make it rounder too. The 6, the 3 of them kind of want to fold on top of each other. So that you know that that can happen. And there, let me get these down, or actually I'll just do this. Let's get them so you can see them. they turn out so cute, and they're so easy and so fast. You can make a whole bunch of these in all different colors. You can use pearls, you can whatever you want to, as long as it's 4mm round, and you can pass through the hole several times. You should be able to make these with all kinds of stuff in your stash. You could use all different colors of seed beads. You could use red, green, whatever you want, and make a bunch of these. I think they turn out just adorable, and they're so fast, and it just makes it really nice to make little gifts for people, or if you're doing a craft show or something. It's a really fast, easy project to make a bunch to sell. So there you have it, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one. If you would like to subscribe and ring that notification bell, we'll make sure we see each other again. Okay? I appreciate it. Bye-bye, everybody.